And today I'm picking some herbs, so let's go do that. Behind me over here, I've got a couple of bowls ready for our harvest, but today we're actually starting over here with the garlic chives. First harvest of the day is going to be those garlic chives. I am going to hack them down quite low. I genuinely want a full jar of garlic chives. Originally, when I planted out these garlic chives, there were only 5 or 6 of them. And they have, fortunately for me, spread and grown and filled out this container, or the wheelbarrow at least. And now I get to come along here and harvest garlic chives whenever I really want to, whenever I think it's a necessity. And since my garlic chives in the kitchen are out at the moment, I thought I'd make one large batch and allow them the last of the little bit of heat and winter to recover. What I'm doing is I'm going along and I'm just running my hand along the base of the plant here, trying to remove the strawberries as I go. Then I just take my scissors or my cutters, and where I see the leaves are coming together, I just cut slightly above that, and I get to remove my handfuls of garlic chives. And I do realize that this is going to look very empty for a while, but honestly, what's the point of growing something if I'm not going to actually use it? And I do use the produce that I grow. And though this may be in a dry form eventually, it will last me throughout the entire winter and possibly even into our next growing season. And it gives my plants a little bit of time to recuperate. I do have a second batch of garlic chives underneath the arch. From this original wheelbarrow with the garlic chives in, I actually harvested a few chives from there and I planted them out in this container. And as you can see, they are starting to fill out nicely, and they do give me the desired effect that I wanted. They fill this container beautifully, and when the leaves do flop over like this, the chickens can come and access them through the fence, but there's enough of a barrier for them not to be able to annihilate the entire plant. So as far as garlic chives are concerned, that's what we ended up with. Just gonna add this to the table, grab our next container, and do our next harvest. So I'm going to take our second bowl here, and we're going to move on to our next harvest, which I think in this situation is probably going to be my marjoram. I'm going to just put my bowl here. I may wait a little bit longer on the mint because it's not a necessity right now, and I do want to rather put the things that I want to eat and preserve in the dehydrator before I fill it with something that's not necessary. I love the way this container looks, and I've always wanted it to be chock-a-block full of herbs, but I never really expected it to be just the one herb. I was hoping to have a variety of things, and at a stage we did. But currently in this container, we've got the marjoram, a cucumber plant, and the spring onion. I am going to cut the cucumber plant stem off. I think it's time for it to retire. And I'm going to trim back this marjoram. I am going to go quite heavy on it because I want the space available to maybe plant 1 or 2 other things in this container. I'm going to start with the cascading edges. With these large harvests, I do dry my herbs individually and then combine them at the end for a mixed herb blend, depending on the quantities of things that I have, or that I've harvested at least. Unfortunately, I don't have very much parsley to go in there, but I did have a bumper crop and was able to previously dry some parsley. So I will add the previously dried parsley to this blend once it is dry. I've trimmed it all the way back, and I'm not angry about it. I think it looks quite nice. It will fill out again in a few weeks, I'm sure. But for now, we can leave it and move on to our next one. So for the next herb harvest, we're going to that green container over there to harvest some oregano, and I'll probably use this wooden one. I want to save this white bowl for basil because it is significantly larger, and we do have 3 varieties of basil to harvest. This one I'm going to just cheat and sit down on a little bit. Again, I'm going to start with the overhang and any of these plants where they're crossing over. This one here is a thyme. There's some oxalis in here. The thyme seems to be struggling a little bit more, but I think that's because it's being smothered by this oregano. So we're just going to come around and trim that back and give it a bit more of an opportunity to grow a little bit better. This seemingly dead plant over here is my chamomile. So this plant will soon be vacant and we can plant something else in it. So much of it, it smells amazing. Both of these plants, the marjoram as well as the oregano, as far as I understand, they are same family or at least similar. But both of them came from my mom as tiny little plants, and I planted them into these containers. And I have since then gifted other people with portions of it and had multiple harvests. I've even transplanted some of it into different places where it's grown pretty successfully. Now it's just time to pull out this oxalis and harvest our thyme. That we've got a couple of things going. We have one more bowl left, and that is for the basil. We may have to go and collect a few more bowls just to finish up the harvest, but for now we're working with what we got, and we're going to fill this bowl with basil. Today I'm going to be harvesting off of this basil, this one, and there is one over here and one over there. I think we start with that one just because it's on its own, and then we'll move over this side and we'll harvest the remainder. I'm going to start here. Again, I'm going to take them down as low as I possibly can just to try and get as much of a harvest or a flush of these basils as possible. While I'm out here, I'm just going to harvest some spinach for tonight's dinner. We're making shawarmas. Hey guys, so I was under the impression that I'd harvested all my basil, but actually, just hiding in the garden here behind me next to the tomato is one last basil plant, so we're going to harvest that quick. Since I've recently planted this particular Greek basil out, I am going to leave it as it is. I'm just going to harvest some of this opal basil, and hopefully we can encourage it to bush out a little bit more. Just looking for the right spot to take it off to ensure that we have something to grow. There we go. Not much, but it definitely, every little bit counts. And there we have it, guys. This is our herb harvest, and I'm quite impressed with this haul, specifically because all of these herbs were grown in containers. So even if you don't necessarily have ground, try and make the best use you can of your small space, and who knows, maybe you'll be pulling in harvests like this before you know it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and if you can, share it across your social media. It goes a long way for us getting our name out there, and we get to grow our community and learn from and with each other. Have a great time, guys. Bye. I was busy packing away the herbs, and then I realized I clean forgot to show you the difference between a spring onion and a garlic chive. Here I have my spring onions, and here I have 2 garlic chives. As you can see on the spring onion here, it is a tube. And with your garlic chives, your leaf is actually flat. And solid. So I have found in my experience that the garlic chives dehydrate better and maintain their flavor for longer, and I prefer to use my chives for fresh eating.